We're continuing on in our Devo series, and this one's called The Wolf. Last time we talked about the hired hand and how he abandons the flock, leaving them vulnerable to the wolves. But how do we recognize the voice of the wolf that seeks to scatter the flock? In John 10, our chapter that we've been referring to this whole series, says that the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. So we need to make sure we don't listen to the voice of the wolf. Remember the story of Little Red Riding Hood? It's one of those scary fairy tales that we tell our children about this innocent little girl going to visit her grandmother, only a wolf has gone before and switched clothing with the grandmother, and the little girl's taken by the wolf. So the wolf in the Bible isn't much different than the wolf in that fairy tale in that he disguises himself as one of the flock. But instead of his intent being to mingle with the flock and follow the good shepherd, his intent is to attack the flock and make it scatter. Here's some differences between sheep and wolves. Sheep can be domesticated and wolves cannot. Sheep are non-violent and wolves are violent. Wolves have sharp, dangerous teeth, and they're not followers, they're eaters. So how would that translate into our personal walk with other believers in the sheep pen following the Good Shepherd's voice? We've probably all witnessed wolves entering a group of people, causing discord and causing believers to scatter, with some never returning to the sheep pen. So hired hands, we talked about, come in the form of leaders that come in for personal gain, but wolves sneak in and disguise themselves as sheep so that their voices can be so subtle and so life-threatening if we choose to listen. So what might a wolf in sheep's clothing look like? They show up to worship, but instead of exalting him, they show off themselves. They demand it's their way or the highway. These wolves use sweet words to compliment, but cutting words later, and they might appear loving and gentle, but reveal sharp teeth when provoked. You might hear that description and think, well, I've acted like that myself. But the proof is in the lifestyle. Whether the one is causing discord runs to the Good Shepherd for instruction and direction on how to use a rod and staff, or if the one causing the discord takes the rod and staff to prod and poke even the shepherd himself. This is a dangerous pen when wolves roam with the rod and staff in their hands instead of being in the hand of the Good Shepherd. We were not made to be governed by other sheep with a rod and staff in hand. Remember, that belongs to the Good Shepherd alone. A shepherd uses the rod to fight off predators and protect the sheep. But if a wolf's among the flock, that rod will be taken to break the back of unsuspecting sheep. A shepherd uses the staff to pull the sheep away from harm, like from the edge of a cliff. But a wolf walks among the flock, pushing other sheep to the edge with fear. That same passage I read tells us to beware and to look for the fruit. If it's not there, we're not supposed to listen to that voice. Little Red Riding Hood arrived at her grandmother's house and noticed the big ears, the big hands, and the big mouth. And she knew those didn't belong to her grandmother. But the wolf still attacked her because she didn't recognize and flee. The same as we said before, we must know the attributes of a good shepherd and recognize his voice, but we need to be educated to recognize the wolf's voice when they are out to deceive and harm us. Sheep are made to be domesticated, resourceful, to follow the shepherd and be attended to and cared for by him and no other. Wolves show up to devour from the get-go, and the only way to avoid being scattered by their howls is to completely know the fruit. If the ones in the pen aren't mimicking the Good Shepherd, then they're up to no good. And if you've been scattered by wolves in sheep's clothing, don't let that experience keep you from the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd knows how to remove those fake clothes and deal with the wolf. It's just your job and my job as sheep to listen to the Good Shepherd's voice above all others, hear our names being called, follow his lead to love and be loved by the one who laid at the gate so that we could have sweet fellowship and provision, goodness and mercy all the days of our lives away from the attack of the wolves.